Thank you for having me. Okay, so I'm going to begin at at the beginning, uh, and I always used to feel that my inspirations for photography was like Steve McCurry and Raghu Rai and all the usual names, but much later in life when I started unlearning a lot of things, I figured out that my inspiration was actually right here at the beginning, which is a little photograph of me stealing film from my sister used to store some film in the cupboards and sorry, cupboards and fridge and things like that. So she had taken this very cute picture of me with like oversized glasses, and um, that's one of my earliest exposures to a camera, to film, to the process of making pictures. And of course, this is my family. That's my mom. That's me when I had a lot of hair on my head. That's my eldest sister Shirley. That's my dad and my sister Sonia. And my sister Sonia was the one who take all these like goofy images of us, uh, climb, hang me upside down, or make me wear like feminine clothes and things like that. And also, one more thing that kind of made me see things the way I see them today is the kind of cinema we saw in the 80s and 90s, all those Rishikesh Mukherjee films where, he would manage to say a lot of things about that time, like Chupke Chupke for that matter, this obsession with a certain kind of Hindi, or the, you know, uh, cab driver running away with his sister. So those are influences that were somewhere, somewhat buried, if I may say so. But the process of, kind of moving away from, stepping a little away from journalism helped me tap into those, you know, very, very early roots of mine, so to say. And, but then I was a terrible student, and I mean, I got into bad company and things like that. And then my family sent me to Dubai, and that's what I started looking like. Uh, in Dubai, I had a very interesting job. I like imagine imagine a hotel, something probably with the name like Midland or something. It's a small hotel, business hotel, etc. And this man that I used to work for, he would basically go to these hotels and say that, why don't you give me your two of your floors at cost price, or like at 70%, discount or something. And it's my job to keep them occupied, and, there'll be a certain percentage to it. Uh, but for that, he would employ people like me, absolute youngsters. And our job in a place like Dubai was to go and ask random people on the streets if they wanted a room. So it's like after room chahiye, and it's like it was probably great training for me, because later on when I started taking pictures and approaching strangers, this is what really helped me. Although it was very creepy, and but yeah, I did it. And one fine day, I found myself and all our entire team sacked, and we were sitting at home, and we had no idea what happened. And 3 days later, he was in the papers on the front page of Gulf News, Khaleej Times, and stuff, for running a prostitution racket. So I guess he had a great heart that he got rid of us much before this, we would get engulfed in it. So then, when I was working in the job, I would also like come home, and I had access to a lot of National Geographic documentaries and films and international cinema. So I saw two documentaries, one on a photographer called Reza, and one about a man called David Allen Harvey. And I decided that, this real estate and advertising, etc., is not my scene. I'm going to go back to my country, and I'm going to take pictures. I'm going to become a photojournalist. So back I came, and I went to a place which we know very. I went to Priyadarshini Park, and I came across this gentleman. His name is Mr. Srinivas, and I was fascinated. He was taking pictures with his long lens, and I was like, I've left everything, I've left a fancy salary, etc., and I've come back because I want to be a photographer. He started laughing, and he's like, it's the stupidest thing you've done. Uh, and this is a dog's life and whatnot. But he saw that I was very keen, and he said, okay, fine, I'm going to train you a little. I'm not going to get you a job. I'm not going to introduce you. I'm not going to give you any contacts, etc. You just hang around with me and see whether this suits you or not. So I would go with him uh, on certain days, and he would go to like protest marches and business meetings and whatnot. He used to work with the Indian Express, so he had great stories also, of some exceptional journalism that he did. And he had a very strange habit, which was like he would call me at like 6 in the morning to Siddhivinayak temple. And then 6 would become 7, 8, 9, 10. And he would show up at 1 or 2. And I handled it 2, 3 times. And then I was like, I got a little bummed. And he said that, a lot of photography is merely patience. You just have to keep waiting. He also introduced me to a lot of interesting books, like Pictures on a Page by Harold Dibbons or Deeds of War by James Natway, and all these things about the sidelines, uh, which is what a lot of my current work is about. Looking at things from the periphery, kind of running away from the crowd and taking a different angle. All those seeds were sown by him. And from the Indian Express, I finally got an internship at the Indian Express. And my job there for 6 months was to just write captions for other people, which was again a great exercise in seeing. I would just look at other, pictures of all my seniors. I stayed at the Express till the time they didn't give me a job, which, and once they gave me a job, I quickly jumped over to Hindustan Times, where I met Mr. Ghosh, Soumitra Ghosh. He's sadly no more, but he also, he really pushed me into thinking about situations very laterally. And so I'm going to show you some pictures of my, early days as a newspaper photographer. They're very, some of them really slap you in the face. They're very direct. Uh, so this is an image I took of a little child at a protest, a slum demolition protest. The protest was very simple. The kids were basically, writing letters to the government and making drawings and telling them not to, demolish. And it's not an assignment that would generally make it to the front page, but it did, and it had a huge impact. There was a lot of conversation about how to rehabilitate and not to demolish, etc. Ultimately, years later, they ended up in Mahul, and that's also again not a very good thing. But at that point in time, I felt great that my photograph could move people to a certain kind of positive action. And then a very graphic image of a survivor. Her name is Daksha Modi. She survived the train bombings. So a lot of news photography requires, thinking on your feet, being very fast, of course, knowing your gear. This is another image from the train bombings. That's Stanford. He was our national hockey player, and I think after 12 or maybe 20, I'm forgetting the number, but he took a train after 12 or 20 years to go to the visa office for, he was settled in Canada and he wanted to take his parents with him, but it didn't kind of happen. And again, this was a very difficult situation to photograph because you're in the house, you're with the family. And I had read in a book called Inside Photojournalism, which is written by Howard Chapnick. There's an entire chapter dedicated, a chapter or paragraphs dedicated to how you dress and how you conduct yourself at sensitive places. And since I had some warning about where I was going, I had obviously worn a white shirt and I kept my gear to very minimal. And I must have taken just about 12 or 13 frames that entire day. And one of them is this. And, yeah, I mean, a very typical Bombay site. So I'm also very drawn to like situations of humor, because I feel it's one of the most underrated genres or underrated elements in photography today. You can, as I said, like Mr. like Rishikesh Mukherjee, you can say a lot of things, cloaked in humor. These two migrants who had come down to Bombay, I have their names written down somewhere. I don't remember. This is an image from 2004, and they were in BKC, and they were looking at all these great glass buildings coming up. So again, this is an image where the context is kind of erased for, So if I had taken it from that angle, it would have made a different image. If I would have taken it from a little bit from the right, it would have made a different image. So um, and trains are wonderful lifeline. When I saw this scene, I actually saw three animals in it. One being the monkey, one being the fourth guy, uh, and the graphic on the T-shirt of the fifth guy. It's like a tail coming out of the fourth one. And that's obviously the Puma's logo. Um, yeah, I mean, I was also equally stupid enough to figure out. Like, I'm, um, I I always want to know, go a little ahead. Like, we've seen pictures of crowded trains from, a distance. You see people sitting on top. But I was like, what is it like to actually be there in that space? And it's quite a jarring experience. I don't think I would repeat it again. I did this when I was 22 years old. Uh, and then as a news photographer, I would also end up at lots of parties and, take like flashlight, straightforward images of people coming and going. But if you wait a little long, if you wait till like, people are mildly drunk or comfortable with your presence, you get something very interesting. This was a political themed party, and I think this happened around 2 o'clock or so. Uh, Also, this photograph was published, and there was, nobody gave a damn, nobody got offended, no buses were burned, and uh, you know, again, this was a very basic, boring press conference announcing the launch of a photo fair or something of that sort. And the photograph was made in 2006 or 7, but today it holds a lot of relevance in terms of how the Shiv Sena has two coalition partners and how people will, eat humble pie and, do anything for power. So again, the age of a photograph also, influences its meanings. Same year, this is from 2007, and it holds a very much more different meaning today. This was just a man giving the then chief minister a 1 rupee coin for good luck. And we all know what happened in 2016. I don't want to I'm not passing any judgment, but I'm saying that pictures can be representative of situations, that may have not really happened, that are going to happen in the future. Rather, sorry. Classic example of how staying away from the crowd benefits you. That's Chiranjeevi, getting ready to campaign for campaign for elections. He also contested elections, I think, in 2009, the Lok Sabha elections. And I was standing with the posse of photographers and videographers, and Chiranjeevi was desperately, doing all these photo ops, and he tried shoving a date into this little boy's mouth, and obviously the boy is not happy. But there's immediate revenge that happened after 5 minutes when the little boys tried making him eat some kheer. Uh, so You can see I'm a little away from the crowd of photographers. Something similar here. I shot, and there are lots of pictures of Sanjay Dutt on the sets of shoot out at Lokmala, but I kind of went the other way. I took an angle opposite of the director or the cameraman. That is Mr. Hafiz Contractor, and this was a great production made with very minimal expense. I mean, there was a reasonably scathing piece written on him, being written on him, and I had to produce images for that. So I had to kind of, create an image that complements or takes the story further. So I asked him what is his ideal skyline, and he said Dubai is my ideal skyline. So I got hold of the builder of those Tarapur towers, I think the ones in Tardev, and got permission to go on the top floor, got hold of a 14-foot long glass, and got 4 guys to hold it up, and then we shot this. The choice to shoot in harsh light was very obvious, because then the photograph has a slightly harsh feel to it also, which goes with the tone of the story. And again, an example of, kind of thinking laterally. This is a picture story I did on, on the cleanest, slightly forward brothel in Maharashtra. And you can see that I wasn't very interested in the whole cruising or, pictures that lots of photographers want with, the women with the clients. And I was like, if it doesn't look like a brothel, I don't need to go out of my way to make it look like one. So yeah, some very basic, simple scenes, keeping the dignity and grace intact. They would also have like classes in the evening for each other. So since they knew what I was doing and they appreciated my effort, so to say, I had another idea for them. And I was like, just before going into this assignment, I had just endured like I kind of lived through a hit and run, and I was on bed for 8 months. So I would constantly, I saw like 200 films, 300 books, and my friends would come and cheer me up, etc. But my constant view was my ceiling, the fan. And there'd be lots of things running in my head, lots of things that I was sorry for, lots of things that I shouldn't have done, lots of people that I missed, and lots of things that I'm grateful for. And all these thoughts would, keep jumbling in my head. And when I went here, and I thought, is there a way I can deploy this entire experience that I had, and kind of talk about a very personal experience, but through the lives of others, because uh, almost everyone goes through these kind of phases and these kind of situations. I started photographing their ceilings. I would lie down on the bed and I would photograph the ceiling. And the thing was basically like this, like in my conversations with them, um, there's that whole situation of power where the man is on top and you have to kind of be submissive, and this is the thing that they would see often. So like one woman here has kept like fake roses and some confetti and some portraits of film stars where she's photoshopped herself with them. Um, and I thought that this is a slightly tangential and more difficult but dignified way of asking viewers to look at images of such a place, instead of like those hard hitting images of Kamati Pura as a tough place. And so yeah, I just photographed these ceilings over the next few days, and you can see each ceiling has each space has a different story to tell. So as I said that I got suddenly drawn to taking tangential takes on regular situations. And once I was going to office, and I was reading some magazine, I forget which one. Uh, my my station was about to come, and I was about to get off. But the guy right next to me said, he just mumbled saying, "Mera hua nahi," and I was like, "What?" And like he just looked at me like, can you just like keep the magazine open? I still want to finish the piece that I was reading. Uh, and that hit me. I was like, that's such a cool thing. Like we've seen this happen. We talk about crowds, and we talk about the certain kind of uh, forced closeness between people. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to photograph people snooping into other people's business, so to say. So I'm going to show you. So it became like a kind of a triangle where one person is sitting, the other one snooping, and I'm snooping on them. So I'm a participant snooper in all these pictures. And of course, I used my big bulky camera to photograph this because people are just doing it openly. So I was like, I can't be deceptive and be shooting this with a phone and all that. So here are some pictures of that. And again, it gave me a chance to kind of look at train photos. Like I can't get into a ladies compartment and photograph. Life there is very different, and somebody by the name of Anushree Fadnavis has done a great job of chronicling that. But uh, yeah, I was like, this gave me a very interesting window into what happens in a regular train compartment. Train compartment. And like this long, distant gaze into the person's email inbox, probably. And like the uncle has got two papers, and he's found something interesting in the third paper of someone else. And just the way the color came together. And the middle uncle fell asleep, but the one next to him continued reading. I'm not really like poking fun at people. I'm just looking at this very interesting uh, aside of train travel. And we've all heard cliches. City doesn't sleep. City doesn't sleep. But city loves to sleep a little because it gets tired being maximum and spirit and all those cliches. So when I used to work at Open Magazine, uh, after a long edit meeting or after a long heavy lunch, I would go to Horniman Circle Garden, and I would see all these very interesting uh, men who would come there, who would just fall on the grass, slip away into some dream, and I found it very fascinating and cute. And it's also not very like these are very quiet pictures of a very quiet time. The fact that the manhole cover becomes a pillow, or this man here who I went close to him and saw that he's got his like biodata, so he's probably a job hunter, and a laborer, possibly a mason's helper, because I saw a lot of cement stains on his shirt and pant. Um, a waiter at a restaurant. mm, Probably a trader or someone, and the way he slept like a little baby. Man selling rat poison. And I wouldn't see too many women, but occupying that space. But yeah, I mean, see the difference between the way the men were sprawled all over and the way the women would sleep. And I also started looking at some very strange little things like street temples and how they would just pop up from discarded items. or stickers for that matter. That little Lakshmi in the middle of, an all India strike. And the fact that a donation box has been hammered onto the tree, and there's like this ad which has a nice little, logo where somebody's hammering into it. Which brings me to yet another. So all these things, when I leave my house, they're all in my head, and I keep like an eye open for all of them. Afterlife is part of my current show, which is on at Sing Rosa. If you haven't come, you should come. If you've come, tell others. But this is basically, I've been kind of looking for um, examples of recycling of these chamcha hoardings. If, that's what a lot of people call them. Since 2009. Although the first image in the series was made in 2004, but it took me a long time to, one day I was searching for some image in 2009, and I was just going through folder after folder, and I came across this one image that I had made in 2004, and I was like, oh, I'm so stupid. I had this idea, and I should have, just realized that there's a lot of merit in it. So since 2009, I've been like walking, and this. As such, I always have a camera with me. I'm not a compulsive photographer who believes that I need to photograph daily, but I do have a camera with me at all times, some camera at least. And then I started looking, and the moment you start looking, things start happening. You start finding interesting examples, like this tree, which which was kind of being asphyxiated by this poster. And they have a lot of hidden, not hidden, but sometimes very obvious meanings to them, like how our politicians are planning to decide what we eat, or how like they forcefully smile. Like you can see the position of the clips. It's almost like somebody told them to smile and then not, you know, so that it doesn't go back to the grim face, like somebody clipped it. And yeah, just lots and lots of examples of how the kind of interference with transport and business, and the kind of state of transport, oh, sorry, the state of roads in our city. And just the way a lot of my work is also born out of fatigue, like Afterlife was born from the fatigue of photographing politicians. Uh, as news photographers, as magazine photographers, or as portrait photographers, we always end up making pictures of them before an election. So our pictures more or less serve like uh, a PR purpose. So one day, when one of my cameras conked off, I went to the Canon service center, and I was made to wait for a long time, and I got bored, and it was raining like mad. So I came down to the street, and I saw like the street is like flooded till like knee deep, and we've seen great images of. I've also made not great, but I've also made like some images of people, you know, on a flooded street, and like ferrying goods and whatnot. But I was very fascinated by the specifics of it. So I started photographing people with a replacement camera that they had given me for the time being. And I would just take like telephoto shots of them and how they are negotiating this very, very dirty water. So I was also in it, knee deep. And it's just a study of, how we live, how we deal with situations, what we wear and where we work, and lots of the images kind of raise a lot of questions. And yeah, is the man wiping his sweat, or is he wiping, uh, the rainwater that's dripping off someone else's umbrella. Of course, nobody likes to be in this muck. She's made her displeasure very evident. And there are moments of hope and love in the midst of all this. Which brings me to the little book I did, which was, in the beginning, for lack of any working title, I had called the Bombay book. And the book was born with this image, which I took on my cell phone. I love photographing in square format of the iPhone because it requires a different kind of rigor, a different kind of focus. And so this image was made when my father was in the hospital, and this was a particular spot that we used to go often. And I think on this day, this afternoon, looking at this scene where me and my dad used to sit, and the crow as a sign of ancestors, and this man who's selling chana, he had black hair when I was growing up. And of course, Sea Rock used to be there. There was no Land's End. There was no ceiling. So it's an image with a lot of movement, not just physical, but a little meta also. And I thought that maybe I should do a book. I can't be like an assignment photographer for too long. I have something to say, and I need to put it on paper. So I started working. I developed this storyline of sorts, and I started looking for. It was almost like starting all over again, going back to 2004, being a fresher, because now the camera in my hand had changed. It was no longer an SLR. It was the most commonly found camera of today. And if I'm documenting today, if I'm talking about today's city, today's India, then this is probably the best tool to kind of. There are obvious problems with it in terms of quality. In terms, people think that you can be very intimate and nobody can notice, but try doing it. You look like a creep. It requires a different mindset, and I found that very challenging. So you can see some pictures that I started, like this is what my bed would look like. I did the edit very old school with making cheap prints and laying them out. I made a small little storyline, and at some point, the for I don't know, one day. So this was the cover that I was initially thinking. It went from the Bombay to her, and it's pretty, like, it doesn't go with the tone of the images. It's too straightforward, too literal. Sorry. So I abandoned this, but I came across this scene. I think in February 2017 or 16. I forget the time. But it's this very beautiful little kitten, glowing red, and Bombay sticking out of that manhole cover. And this whole, layers of concrete that have come around the manhole cover, which reminded me of a little fable that my mother used to tell me about this man, about this young boy and his unusual friendship with a talking red cat. And I was like, oh, there are like so many things, so many metaphors in it, which link with the way I've been photographing. So I named the book "The Red Cat and Other Stories." It also has the fable in it, and I started, obviously, it takes a village to raise a book. So I started like harassing my friends and people online that, I want to do this. How do I design? So that's my friend Harsha Badlamani, who helped me with the edit. And Harsha has not much connection with Bombay, but he's from Hyderabad. So working with an outsider working with somebody who's not in the space as an editor kind of helped me uh, better my vision or better my way of seeing my own space. And that's a very interesting. I would suggest that one should kind of indulge in these exercises. And then came another outsider, Peter Bialobrzeski, a very famous photographer, a great human being, and a fantastic teacher. Peter was doing a book on Bombay, especially the suburbs, and I was doing my book. And then we had a lot of notes to exchange, and we influenced the book a lot. One of the great things that Peter taught me, which I was doing for a while, but I didn't have I didn't have the right term for it, was to murder your darlings, which means that a number of times when you're constructing a narrative, um, uh, some great images need to be kept on the side, uh, because the book or the narrative is much more importance than a few, like, it shouldn't be like one of those Bollywood movies where you have like a guest appearance or a star coming suddenly. So yeah, unless they're actually like taking the story forward or bringing in a quirk that was not there. So as you can see, like, coming from a pure news photographer space, pushing myself in the deep end, I started asking questions to people on Instagram. I would like message designers, and uh, they would get back to me. And I didn't seek like, I mean, I didn't have a great experience trying to interact with publishers, and one publisher, especially from Tokyo. Yeah, he said that if you're doing your first book, you better self-publish. There's a lot to learn in, not just in terms of like how to pack and how to dispatch and how to print and what, but you learn a lot about your own photography, about your own storytelling in the process. And I think self-publishing was the best thing I could do. And I'm being offered like nice apples and biscuits on the side by our gallery manager. So yeah, I mean, you can read some of the bits that people said, and it basically boiled down to like peeling layers and going to the core of what you're doing. And then I got hold of a friend, Sabina Karnik, uh, and he said that we need to design a very specific font for the title because nothing was working. So we merged the handwriting styles of my two sisters. I basically told my sisters, as I said, are very, very important, influential, and had it not been for their support and their help and love and caring and uh, all the times they have accommodated me, I don't think I would um, be doing the kind of photography I do, or I don't think I would be doing photography as well. But so you know. I made them write The Red Cat and Other Stories, and then Sabina, with her fantastic skill, kind of brought it together. And if you see, the text in the book is also like what you see, the bar on top is basically, if you bring all the text in the book together, it resembles a skyline. I did this thing because I was like, maybe someday I will exhibit my work and I can have this layout. Uh, in the current exhibition, the book is displayed, but we've not done it this way. I think I'll have to wait for the second term for this second shot at this. And these are the pictures. This is what the book opens with, a nice little image of RA Colony, and the first thing I see when I wake up, these big towers and beautiful winter morning. I came across a man selling donkey milk, and I was fascinated by him. I had never seen, and he spoke about how donkeys were earlier used for construction activity, and now that construction has changed uh, a lot, the donkeys are of no use. So he also performs this very unique ritual. A lot of like the donkey milk is sold. His pitch for donkey milk is that it makes you It's mostly given to little babies, infants, and the pitch is that it makes them smarter, and it what is the buzzword nowadays? Immunity badhata hai. So, but then, so it give like a spoonful and then do this parikrama like ritual where you like, kind of roll the baby in the air. And very scary, uh, but yeah. And of course, how like the structure of a slum has changed from being horizontal on the ground. So one corner would hear of him, and people would know that he's here. But now that you have vertical slums, as they say, for the SRA projects, uh, he's his business, so to say, has suffered a lot. Just a little baby under a bridge, playing under, in her mom's sari. One of Kingfisher's, aircrafts sitting in a scrap go down in somewhere in Sakinaka, I think. And a stockbroker I met. Uh, an adventure competition called the Mud Rush. I was there the whole day, and uh, she was the only woman who I noticed that she'd do a couple of obstacles, and then she would replenish her lipstick because her friends were taking photos. So I found it very funny. But yeah, in the book, it is paired with a photograph of a flooded street in Paria. Uh, that's Akash. I met him on one of those Bandra late night drinking scenes with my friends. And there's a fairly terrible backstory to why he's got so many tattoos on his face. It involves a little bit of discord with his wife, which led to his daughter, 7-year-old or 8-year-old daughter, saying that I don't want to see your face again. And this young father was so distraught that he started like he went to a tattoo artist and was like, just do do something to my face that I don't become, that I'm not the same person again. And again, as I, to make this book, I took my journalistic learning. So I met him over and over time, like over and over again. I met him like I think 4 or 5 times, and I learned that this tragedy is not him all the time. Like he knows this happened. It was a weak moment, and but he's like, okay, he's like, okay, this happened. Now I'm going to like rebuild my life. And so in terms of kind of making the photograph, especially since this was being made on the phone, I used the service window uh, to you know show this like dark figure, which is like a metaphor for like there is a slight dark side to this very smiling happy man. Hmm. I didn't do the spitting. I just saw it. And a great day to photograph Bombay is an India-Pakistan match. One, the streets are empty, and two, you might just find some dinosaur outside a dinosaur on a dinosaur. And then I went into printing, and I saw first time what a press looks like, how books are made, and it's a great process. And then the books came home, and I had 15 boxes staring at me, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with them? How am I supposed to distribute? Uh, Again, I did a very basic Bombay exercise, which is I was trying to like ask people who are going to like Kerala, Nasik, etc. Like, oh, we have all these. I had done a pre-order call, and I was trying to ask them, can you take it, and can you deliver and whatnot, and that was, then I was trying to crack deals with courier companies, etc. But in the midst of all that, a friend of mine called me saying, I'm here from Kottayam, and I'm just in Bombay for a few hours. If the book is ready, I'd like to have it with me, because sometimes postage and courier takes a lot of time in Kottayam, to reach Kottayam. So I took one, I went to give it to her, and when the book leaves my hand, reaches somebody else, and when they see it, and when I'm sitting in front of them and I see their reactions, and they see me, and they're either engrossed in it, or they want to read, or they're like, they've forgotten their cup of coffee, or they have, like, many times. Um, so basically, that whole experience was fascinating. Now it's like, why am I bothering with these courier companies and stuff? Out of town couriers, I'll do it myself. I can't, like, go to many different states and countries, but all the books that were ordered in Bombay, I went and delivered myself. And I'm going to show you a small little video of that. I call it Red Cat and Other Humans. That's what the book looked like. And again, each of these experiences, each of these steps, is informed by always trying to find, like, a tangent, always trying to have, like, घुमा के काम करने का. So this is a video of me just, like, going to people's homes with a book. Is the sound there? Are you able to hear me? Hear the video?
Yeah. कैसे हैं आप?
बढ़िया.
It's me.
Oh my god. You said your hi. Hi. Why did you tell me you're coming?
That's the whole idea, no?
Arey baba.
Hello.
I know that you met you before.
I know.
Personally. Hi.
I know.
I had no idea you were coming.
Lots of people don't have an idea that I'm coming.
This is so cool. Hey.
Hello.
I'll see you on Can you come inside, Mr. Photographer? How are you?
I'm good.
Oh, this little too bad. Abhi, do you know Ritesh used to shoot pictures of you when you were a baby? Hello.
My daughter is saying, I'm on your doorstep, filming as iPhone as I'm wearing my jockeys. Come in.
I have come to deliver your books.
Arey, it's come also.
Hello.
Hello. Oh my god. Hello.
Here's your book.
Come in.
Hello.
Hi.
Here's your book.
Thank you so much. Come sit down. This man, he had all the tattoos in his face. You know why?
Why?
Because he wanted to hide himself so nobody could recognize him. You know?
So you went to put all tattoos on his face?
Well, okay.
Did you by any chance notice any red birds?
Yeah. I'm not colorblind.
Do you
Do
know?
they make a sentence?
Are we good on time? Can I show, like, a small video? Or,
Yes. Sure.
Just, I think it would be a great way to end, because I don't have much to say after this.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
है दिल है मुश्किल जीना यहाँ जरा हट के जरा बच के ये है बॉम्बे मेरी जान हा हो ही हा है दिल है मुश्किल जीना यहाँ जरा हट के जरा बच के ये है बॉम्बे मेरी जान कहीं बिल्डिंग कहीं ट्राम में कहीं मोटर कहीं मिलता है यहाँ सब कुछ एक मिलता नहीं दिल कहीं बिल्डिंग कहीं ट्राम में कहीं मोटर कहीं मिलता है यहाँ सब कुछ एक मिलता नहीं दिल इंसान का नहीं कहीं नाम और निशान जरा हट के जरा बच के, ये है बॉम्बे मेरी जान। ऐ दिल मुश्किल जीना यहाँ, जरा हट के जरा बच के, ये है बॉम्बे मेरी जान। कहीं सट्टा कहीं पत्ता, कहीं चोरी कहीं रेस, कहीं डाका कहीं फाका, कहीं ठोकर कहीं ठेस। कहीं सट्टा कहीं पत्ता, कहीं चोरी कहीं रेस, कहीं डाका कहीं फाका, कहीं ठोकर कहीं ठेस। बेकारों के है कई काम यहाँ, जरा हट के जरा बच के, ये है बॉम्बे मेरी जान। ऐ दिल है मुश्किल जीना यहाँ, जरा हट के जरा बच के, ये है बॉम्बे मेरी जान। बेघर को आवारा यहाँ कहते हंस हंस, खुद काटे गले सबके कहे इसको बिजनेस। बेघर को आवारा यहाँ कहते हंस हंस, खुद काटे गले सबके कहे इसको बिजनेस। एक चीज के है कई नाम यहाँ, जरा हट के जरा बच के, ये है बॉम्बे मेरी जान। ऐ दिल है मुश्किल जीना यहाँ, जरा हट के जरा बच के, ये है बॉम्बे मेरी जान।
बुरा दुनिया वो है कहता, ऐसे भोला तो न बन, जो है करता वह भरता है यहाँ का ये चलन। बुरा दुनिया वो है कहता, ऐसा भोला तो न बन, जो है करता वह भरता है यहाँ का ये चलन। दादागीर नहीं चलने की यहाँ, ये है बॉम्बे, ये है बॉम्बे, ये है बॉम्बे मेरी जान।
ऐ दिल है मुश्किल जीना यहाँ, जरा हट के जरा बच के, ये है बॉम्बे मेरी जान।
ऐ दिल है आसान जीना यहाँ, सुनो मिस्टर सुनो बंधु, ये है बॉम्बे मेरी जान।
ऐ दिल है मुश्किल जीना यहाँ, जरा हट के जरा बच के, ये है बॉम्बे मेरी जान।
Okay, so I'm kind of done. That's the first book that went across the border. Had a reasonably difficult route. And yeah, so I think if there are any questions, then we can take those.
Yes, so we do have a couple of questions. So the first one is, I think, from an aspiring photographer. They want to know, what is your advice to shoot pictures which are creatively better than, some mundane frames? How do you make your photographs more creative?
Oof, it's a lot. I mean, creative is a very subjective word. So I think one of the best ways to make good photographs is first to see good photographs, and also be open to other influences, listen to a lot of interesting music, see how food is made, understand timing, by watching a lot of sports. I think it takes a lot of things in your life to make you a better photographer. And also, especially if you're shooting on the street, everything is not there for the taking. You are in someone else's space. You are in, and you have to respect that. And the moment you do that, the moment you're able to acknowledge that you're like some sort of an invader, and you have, like, it's almost like, if somebody were to come to me, if a journalist were to come to me and be like, I want to talk about your life, etc. So it's a very very nice but fragile bond of trust, which is made in very quick time. So if you keep making these bonds, it starts reflecting in the images and you start getting better and better. I don't know if that really answers that, because creative, as I said, is very, very subjective.
Right. Okay. So this is a difficult one. So out of all your pictures, which is your favorite one? Or from all your work, which is your favorite work till date?
I think if I like pictures that I take of my sisters, of my friends, like my friends that come today, and I really liked it. And yeah, I think those are the pictures that I will hold on to. I mean, everything else, yes, I will hold on to. That is work, but this is close to me. Pictures of our, my cats and stuff.
Right. Okay. So Ankur has asked if he can get an autographed copy of your book, and from where can he get one?
If Ankur is based in Bombay, he can come over to the gallery tomorrow. We're open tomorrow. Simrosa, Bridge Candy, and he can take it from me. I can do a little walkthrough also for him, and you can all come in. Or otherwise, you message me on Instagram or buy it off my website, and yeah, I'll sign it with my terribly bad handwriting.
Yes, so I would request the audience to go to the gallery and visit this amazing show that Ritesh has put up, and I'm sure it's going to be
It's called A Lease of Life, and it's on at Simrosa. Simrosa is one of the oldest, one of the older respected galleries of this country. And yeah, come by. And tomorrow's Sunday. It's a good way to spend a Sunday.
Great. So yes, with that, I think we come to an end of the questions. And so thank you so much, Ritesh, for your time with the busy schedule. I understand there are a lot of things happening, but thanks for taking out. And yeah, we saw some wonderful and different perspectives of the city today, which truly describes it, like we've said. And thanks again. Thank you everyone for attending our talk. And we look forward to seeing you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having the patience to wait for me to join in. Yeah.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you all. Have a good evening.